Okay, you're most welcome. My name is Matanda Samir and I'll be taking you through this video of the marking guide Wakisha 2024. This paper was done last year and specifically it's for Senior 1, Senior 2, Senior 3 and Senior 4. Okay, as per the new curriculum, you realize that the number of questions were reduced to 6, whereby section A has 2 questions, section B has got 2 parts, part 1 and part 2, and each part has got 2 questions, and the students meant to attempt 4 questions where they have to do 2 numbers in section A which are compulsory, 1 number in section B part 1 and 1 number in section B part 2, like that. But we shall get time and then we also look into how are these papers set or how are they examined. Okay, so let's start off with the Wakisha Uce 2024 item 1. Okay, now as far as the new curriculum is concerned, we changed or shifted from the direct questions, and here in the new curriculum they give us scenario or real life questions. It is a competence based curriculum whereby it is more of practical than just simple cram work as it has been the case in the old curriculum. Okay, so let's look into the number 1 of Wakisha. It says your friend is a market vendor. She realizes that her customer prefer buying tomatoes in small quantities, so she decides to repackage her tomatoes into heaps of 4. I need to underline this. She repackages her tomatoes into heaps of 4. One day she bought 9 heaps of tomatoes. So one day she bought 9 heaps of tomatoes. Heaps of 4. One day she bought 9 heaps of tomatoes which had 8. One day she bought 9 heaps of tomatoes which had 80 tomatoes. So which had 80 tomatoes. I need to highlight this. Which had 80 tomatoes. I like that. Each from the market at a cost of 2,000 shillings per tomato. Mark the cost. So she bought at 2,000 shillings. I need to underline this like that. Alright. Proceeding per heap, and was given a discount of 15%. And let me hope you must have covered this in your business mathematics. Okay, she decides to sell her heaps of 4. So here she wants to sell her heaps of 4 tomatoes at Uganda shillings 1,200 each, and hence wants to find out how much gross profit she will earn from all her heaps. So now the aim of this person, what she wants to know is how much she can earn from all her heaps, and we shall be doing that. Now, unlike the old curriculum, some of these questions here can be a 2-in-1. Like here you realize that first part is talking about heaps of tomatoes, and now the second part talks about something different. So the learners who are preparing for the forthcoming exams, please, you must bear that in mind. So they can bring a question whereby it is a 2-in-1, like they say. She further intends to visit Queen Elizabeth National Park in December 2024. Yes, now I think here this question now here is talking about, okay, it's talking about visiting. In simple terms, it's talking about visiting, as you can see there. And now it is totally off, different from this side where I've been talking about the heaps of tomatoes. Alright, so we proceed. Her uncle visited the same tourism center last December 2023 with his 3 children and spent Uganda shillings 17,000 on entrance ticket. All right. Okay, so that's what the uncle spent. Then Mr. and Mrs. Mukasa visited the same park in June 2024 with their children and spent Uganda shillings 14,000. She plans to buy entrance tickets. So this second part talks about tickets for herself, husband and 5 children, and hence needs to know how much she will need. Okay, so now here the aim in this second part, she wants to know how much she will need, but in the first part she wanted to know how much profit. Okay, those are two different parts, however, in one question. If park charges are adjusted every after 5 years, if park charges are adjusted after every 5 years, okay, what happens here? Part A, under the task. So task, part A, how much? Part A, gross profits will she earn from her hips after repackaging. Now realize that, okay, let me rub this. You realize that, okay, part A talks about this area here. Part A talks about this area only, because I told you that it's a twin one. Part A talks about the area from here up to there as highlighted. So our answers for part A will only come from that area there. Okay, so I think now we can proceed. So part A, okay, sorry. So part A, they are saying how much gross profits will she earn from her hips after repackaging, 8 scores. Part B, money, how much money will she spend in total to buy the tickets. Now I see that part B talks about the tickets, and that implies that part B will start from here. Okay, let me just highlight this. All right, so part B will start from here. Use this different ink. Sorry, let us use a different ink. So where you see the red ink is where part B is going to start from. So it's always a 2-in-1 question. Okay, great. Then let's proceed. All right, good. So let's see how we can now get this answered. Let's start now with part A. How much gross profit will she earn from her hips after repackaging? Let's start off. So first, let's begin by finding the total number of tomatoes. So realize in the question they told us that, okay, the total number of tomatoes she bought. You realize that in the first one they told us that she bought 9 hips, but each hip with 8 tomatoes. She bought 9 hips, but each hip with 8 tomatoes. From here they say that she bought 9 hips. I think light. So here they're telling you that she bought 9 hips of tomatoes, each which had 8 tomatoes. Now a heap means a pile or a package whereby a heap can be tied in a cavera. And now a group of 8 tomatoes, we call that one heap. But here she bought 9 heaps of tomatoes. So 9 heaps of tomatoes, and each containing 8. It means that to know the number of tomatoes there, we say the 9 heaps times the 80 tomatoes in each. And let's go there. Okay, great. So there we are. So total number of tomatoes we shall have to multiply. Okay, now a heap is more like that in picture. That's now one heap. But imagine more pictures of that kind, each having 8 tomatoes. Each like that is one heap, but when there are 9 of them, of course there in the picture I have 8 tomatoes. So it means that shall now say that the 9 heaps times the 8 tomatoes, so that will give us the total of 72 tomatoes. Okay, now remember they want us to get the profit, of which profit is same as buying price. Okay, profit is same as selling price minus buying price. So here you must know she bought how many tomatoes at how much. She bought 72 tomatoes, and how much did she sell? Now realize that in the question, let's proceed. So cost of buying items, at what price did she buy the tomatoes? She bought each heap at 2,000 shillings, which is seen here. So she bought 9 heaps of tomatoes, which had 8 tomatoes each, from a market at a cost of 2,000 shillings per heap. So the buying price was 2,000 per heap. And now that means that we have the 9, have it here, the 9 heaps times the 2,000, and that will give you 18,000 shillings. Okay, let's proceed. Now next, remember when she was in the market, as per our question, she was given some discount. Okay, a discount is more like a reduction in price. It's an offer given by business owners in a way to keep their customers. So a discount of 15% means that we shall say 100 minus that 5%, because she was given a 5% discount. She was given a 5% discount from here. So and was given a 5% discount. So that means that, okay, we shall have to say 100 minus 5. We remove that discount, then she will pay the 95. Therefore that will be 95 over 100 times the 18,000, the 18,000 which you have around here. Okay, the money, in fact, without a discount, she would buy at this, but maybe she is a good customer, then she was favored, and later she now had to buy at now this price. They favored her a little bit. Okay, let's proceed now. So after 95 over 100 times 18,000, that will give you 17,100 shillings. Okay, proceeding. So with this, we are done seeing how much she bought at. So she bought at 17,100. Let's proceed. So heaps of 4 tomatoes, how many heaps are in 72? Now remember, in this case, she bought the 4 heaps, so she bought 9 heaps, and each heap had 8 tomatoes. Then after, in order to get a profit, with that she came back and packaged on her stall. When she was selling, she had to now package them in this format. She put them into 4. Now we want to ask, how many 4 of these tomatoes are in these 72? Of course, you come and say that the 72 divide by 4, because each heap must have 4. So how many heaps are in 72? Now we get to know that now there, when you divide, the answer you get will be 18 heaps. Now next, we must know if this was the way she packed when she was actually selling. Then what must we know? This was when she was selling. Remember, here she was buying, so she bought at that, then she decided to repackage. This is a bit logical. Please, you can't buy 8 tomatoes, a heap containing 8 tomatoes, then you also sell a heap of 8. So with that, she thought it wise that she divides by 2, and just 1 heap of this makes 2 of what she will be selling. So let's proceed. So now I have 18 heaps. We must now know how much is each heap when she's to sell. So let's go and see. So in the question it says, okay, she decides to sell her heaps of 4 tomatoes at Uganda shillings 12,000. So she'll be selling at 12,000 shillings. Take note of that. Okay, good. Let's now proceed to the next. Okay. Alright, here we are. So how much will she be selling? So now let's see the amount earned after selling the 18 heaps. That will be the 18 heaps times 1,200. That was the selling price. So you realize that, okay, the selling price will be, okay, when you multiply the 18 times the 1,200, the answer you get is 21,600 shillings. So let us proceed. We want that was not the selling price, but remember the question asked for the profit. So now we shall get it from business math that Profit is equal to selling price minus buying price, and that means that the profit will give us that. Therefore, you know that the selling price from the other previous part was 2,000. Rather, the selling price is here 2,000, rather 21,600, and the buying price was 17,100. And when you subtract this minus that, you'll get 4,500 shillings. Please, you realize that from here, okay. From here, please, you realize that the selling price after discount, this was the selling price. This was the selling price after giving a discount. This was the selling price after giving a discount. It is here, 17,000. Selling price is 17,000 as shown above, and now that's why we have it the other side. Okay, that's why we have it here in simple terms. That's why we have it here at 17,000. Let's subtract to get that. So now part A, which was asking for how much profit you will get, has finally been completed, and as per Wakisha marking guide, I think they gave that 8 scores. However, this may vary according to which examiner. Now we are going to part B, and now here part B says, so part B says, remember I told you that, okay, sorry for that. So part B says that how much money will she spend in total to buy tickets she needs. Now here you might have to be a bit careful. You have to be a bit careful in a way that you must go back and see. Part B was already inked somewhere. So part B starts from here. She further intends to visit Queen Elizabeth National Park in December 2024. Her uncle visited the same tourism center with his 3 children and spent. Now here, take note, please. Take note. Here what you must know is that her uncle visited the same tourism center with his 3 children. Underline this. With his 3 children and spent Uganda X 17,000. Then also on entrance tickets. Then also Mr. and Mrs. These are all adults. Mr. and Mrs. Mukasa. Remember here, it was her uncle, also an adult. Visited the same park in June 2024 with their children. Now these are children, and spent Uganda X 14,000. Now you have to note something here, that of course if you ever attended some functions or trade shows, or if you visited the national park, the prices when it comes to adult people tends to be a bit higher than the children or the kids. So in here they're also doing the same. You find that the uncle visited with 3 children, meaning that there's an advantage for children compared to the adults, and they don't pay the same money. But then here realize that whenever you see we are dealing with different things, but we have a unique value for them, this always sends you to a simultaneous inclusion. Reason, the price for which the uncle was paying, we don't know it, and even the price for which the children were paying, the amount they were paying, we don't know it. It comes back to the side that Mr. and Mrs. Mukasa, these are 2 adult people, okay, visited the same park in June with their children, with their child, only 1. So we still don't know. Mr. and Mrs. Mukasa and children paid 14, but we don't know how much did the adults pay. Then how much did the children pay? We don't know that. And once that always appears, expect a simultaneous equation. Okay, that's part B. Let's go and see how that simultaneous equation comes about. Let's see how that simultaneous equation comes about. Okay, great. So now let's start off with part B. Part B says we shall now begin by letting. Of course, we saw that we had children and adults. So let's start and say, let X represent the cost of ticket for a child. only one child. Then also proceed. Let y represent the cost of ticket for an adult. Those are the mature people. I explained that. Let's come and see in the next part. We shall have 3x plus y is equal to 17,000. Now we have said, when you go back in the question, realize that there were 3 children. This was when the uncle and their 3 children, the uncle was only 1, and that was the y is for adult. Y is for adults. Okay, now let's proceed. So you realize that from the question, you realize that, okay, the number of children was realize that the number of children was 3 when they went with their uncle. Just put the highlight here. So here the number of children was 3 and they went with their uncle, who is an adult. So when you say uncle, it means it is one person. Then this next part, we say that Mr. and Mrs. Mukasa, those are 2 adult people, went with a child, that's x1 only, and therefore when the uncle went with the 3 children, they spent 17,000. So therefore you say the 3 children plus their uncles paid that. Then also the 1 child plus Mr. and Mrs. Mukasa paid 14,000. Now what is next is to solve the 2 simultaneous equations, and now let's go and see how can that be done. And of course specifically here we shall use elimination method. Okay, and that will mean that shall have, by elimination it means that shall put a number up by intercrossing. You all know that this is 1, so here shall put there a 1, and then this 3 will come down here and put there as a 3. As simple as that. So therefore that will be as follows. And when you multiply the 2 separate example, you shall get that. Okay, good. So you multiply 1 times 3x, you get 3x. You multiply 1 times 3x, you get 3x. You multiply 1 times y, you get y. You multiply 1 times 17,000, you get 17,000. Same way now, 3 times x shall get 3x. You multiply 3 times 2, you get a 6y. A 3 times 2y, you get a 2y. And now a 3 times 14,000, you shall get 42,000. Okay, what next is, you realize that since you're going to use elimination, these coefficients are the same like this. Since they are all positive and positive, shall now have to subtract the 2 and get the answer as shown. Okay, so when you subtract the 2, you realize that you come up with that 5y equals to negative 5y will give us 25,000. Now here it means saying that y minus a 6y, that will give you a negative 5y. Please use a calculator. Then 17,000 minus 42,000, and that will give you negative 25,000. Okay, let's now proceed. So that implies that dividing both sides by negative 5, this yields y equals to 5,000. That means that an adult was paying 5,000 shillings. Let's now proceed. We substitute that value of y into equation. So substitute y into equation 2 above. So our equation 2 shall now substitute that x plus 2 into 5,000 gives us 14,000. So we are substituting. So substituting, we realize that we are using equation 2, which is this. We are using this equation to substitute. Okay, substitute here. Then we say that x, which x is here, is then we have here plus 2. Now this 2y, now 2y means 2 times y, but of course we have y as 5,000. So therefore, in the place of that, you shall now put them in the place of y, you shall put the 5,000. course multiply the two, realize that will give us x plus 10,000 equals 14,000. From algebra, this 10,000 will cross the equal sign to subtract, as shown like that. And then when you subtract the amount for 5 children and 2 adults, of course when you subtract these two, x plus 10,000, this will cancel out. Then 14,000 times 10,000, of course that will just give you a 4,000 shillings. We have it there. Then the amount for 5 children and 2 adults, of course we shall need to get the total. So this will give us, now our x is equal to 4,000. So it means that since we say that x represents children and y represents adults, so it means that the adults spent 5,000 and the children spent 4,000. I think you can also see this logically, that the children are a bit favored. Let's now proceed to the question, because in the question they said they want us to get the total amount spent by all of them. So this will now be the 5,000 plus the 2. Remember, in total we have 5 children, where we had these 3 children. They want to know how much will all these ones pay, so we have it from here. Okay, proceed. Let's go and see how much money will she spend in total to buy tickets she needs. Let's go and see where we shall get that. So they say, okay, they are saying that she plans to buy entrance tickets for herself. Now you have to come from here. For herself, this is an adult, husband, and 5 children, meaning that the adults are 2. If you can see here, the adults are 2. This means that the adults are 2 of them. For herself and the husband, those are 2 adults. So with this, we shall multiply 2 times 5,000, which is paid for every adult. Then and 5 children, so we shall now say 5 children times how much does each child pay? That is 4,000, and that will give us this. Okay, let's get here. Okay, here we are. So therefore we multiply the 5 children as seen from above. Multiply the 5 children times how much does each child pay? That is 4,000, plus the 2 adults, that was her and her husband, times how much does an adult pay? That is 5,000. That will give us the total as 30,000 shillings. And that marked the end of item 1, Wakisha 2024. But please, as far as education is concerned, you must always give a conclusion. So therefore the amount of money required for her and her husband and the 5 children is 30,000 shillings. Let's now proceed to the next item, and that is Wakisha Uce 2024. Now this number is also compulsory. We said item 1 and item 2, they are all compulsory. And now with this, we have Wakisha 2024 item 2, and this was got from linear programming. This is specifically covered in senior 4, depending on the school. Senior 3 still it can be covered. Let's now go through it. It says, your mathematics teacher is planning to transport not more than 400 students. Not more than 400 students. Mark the language. Not more than 400 students. Now this means that we shall have a less than or equal. That's what it means. Not more than. It means less than or equal. Mark that. Students to a seminar in a neighboring school located 10 kilometers away. He, however, does not know how many trips each vehicle will make, so as to minimize The word is to minimize transport expenses. Shall note that. After consultations with the manager, Super Free Express Bus Company, now this is a bus company, Super Free Express Bus Company, the teacher realizes that if all students paid, their total contribution should not be less than. Their total contribution should not be less than. Now, this language here, should not be less than, has got a meaning in linear programming. So, should not be less than 360,000. This means that it should be greater than or equal to 360,000. Okay, the school is to hire a bus which carries 64 students per trip. And a minibus which carries 16 students per trip. Mark that. The number of trips made by the bus, should be at least 2. So now the word at least 2 in linear programming means greater than or equal to 2. That's what it means. And those made by the minibus should be at most 6. Now the word at most means less than or equal, of course, to 6. That's what it means. The minibus should make more trips than the bus. Okay, now the minibus should make more trips than. That means that the suitable inequality there will be for greater than. Okay, proceed. The charges will be Uganda shillings 40,000 and 90,000 per trip for minibus and the bus respectively. And now with that we shall begin off. And first we are going to say, okay, part A, help the teacher to find out the number of trips each vehicle should make to achieve his goal. Remember, his goal was to minimize the transport costs, so that is his goal. Therefore, part B, what is the maximum number of students that the teacher can transport? We shall be seeing that. So first of all, in this kind of questions of linear programming, what you must begin with is letting. So we shall say, let the number of trips made by the bus be X, and then also let the number of trips made by the minibus be Y. Please, the letting part here, you can let anything. You can choose to let the number of trips made by the bus be Y interchangeably, like that. It's also very, very acceptable. And now our first inequality, we shall pick it from this area here where they're saying, except for example, that is our first equation, Y greater than X. Remember, Y is for minibus and X is for bus. Let's go and see where that this come from. Okay, good. So you realize that here we even put this. They are saying that the minibus should make more trips than the bus. But remember, from our letting part, we said X is for the bus and Y is for the minibus. So therefore here it means that in our answer it means that we're going to have this. Please let me write here so people can understand. Remember, we said that X is for the bus and Y is for the minibus. Then they are saying the minibus, okay, start with Y, should make more than means greater, more trips than the bus, but the bus, we remember the bus said it is X, and that's how our inclusion comes about. Okay, great. Like, let's see, where is that? So Y greater than X is what we have. Okay, as our inclusion number 1. Let's now go and get another inequality, and that's our inclusion number 2. 64X plus 16Y gives us is less than or equal to 400. Let's go and see where that is from our question. So still we said, now here they're saying, remember from the start, your mathematics teacher is planning to transport not more than 400 students, and I said the word not more than means less than or equal. So the total number of students to be transported must be less than or equal to 400. But then we come and see in this last paragraph that the school is to hire a bus which carries 64 students per trip, Now a bus, take note of this. Take note of this. So a bus carries 64, and that will give us 64. That will give us 64. Remember, we say that for the bus we are using letter X, so that will give us 64X, like that. Okay, bus which carries 64 students, so 64X per trip. And now and means a plus. Put the plus, and means a plus. And the minibus, now that's minibus is X, rather Y. Minibus which carries 16 students, so it means that a minibus carries 16 students, as shown there. So that means that that will give us 16. Okay, 16 Y. Now since you're doing with the number of students, but their total is not more than 400, that means less than or equal to 400. Okay, clear of this. I hope we are together there. We can now proceed. Okay, now back to work. Let's go and see. And that's how we got in question number 2, is that we have 64X plus 16Y gives us less than or equal to 400. That is in question number 2. We now go to question number 3, which says Y less than or equal to 6. Remember, Y is for the minibus. Then also, shall explain at once. X greater than 2, like that. So those are the 4 equations we are getting from there. Let's now go and see where do they come from. So from here, realize that we have this. So they said somewhere that the number of trips made by the bus should be at least 2. The number of trips made by the bus should be at least 2. And remember, we are using letter X for the bus, so it means that the number of trips made by the bus should be at least 2. So that will be, if the bus is X, at least means less than or equal to 2. That's the equation we have there. Then also we can look at this. Those made by the minibus should be at most 6, but we argue that at most means greater than or equal to, but the minibus we're using letter Y, so letter Y will be greater than or equal to 6. This is our equation number 3, and this is our equation number 4. Let's go and see that. So we have it here, Y less than or equal to 6 and X greater than or equal to 2. So here for this one here, it is at most. Here, this one here, less than or equal. This one here goes with the word at most. This one goes with the word at most. At most. And now this one goes with the word at least. Please, you must note that. This one here goes with the word at least. Mark the language in linear programming. Okay, so now we can proceed with the next part of that. So in the next part, we have to now see the last equation which we are going to have. The last equation talks about how much were they spending per trip and in total. And now this gives us 40,000 Y plus 90,000 X must be greater than or equal to 36. And with this you realize that we shall have this. Where does that come from? So we have it that okay, the minibus should make more trips. The minibus should make more trips than the bus. Okay, that one has been explained fully. Now the charges will be Uganda shillings 40,000 and 90,000 per trip for the minibus and bus respectively. So now this means that the word respectively means that this 40,000 is for the minibus and the 90,000 is for the bus, like that. That's what the word respectively means. And I know that per trip money spent is that, so therefore we shall say that 40,000 40,000. Okay, now the bus, we are using letter X for the bus, so 40,000 X, and means plus, and means plus. Uganda shilling 90,000 for the, okay, so this was for the okay, let's move this. Okay, so this was for, right, so we have 40,000 the bus, 40,000 is for the minibus, and minibus was Y, and means a plus. Then now the 90,000 X. Okay, now you must look out for the total. Do you have the total in the question? Because we have seen what each trip is, but what is the total? Remember from the start, the question said, okay, their total contribution should not be less than shillings 360,000, and should not be less than means greater than or equal. Therefore, we come and say this is the amount they are going to spend, so it means that should not be more than 360. So now that will be greater than or equal to 360, like that. As simple as that. Let's can see that. And now that gives us this equation: 40,000 Y plus 90,000 X less than or equal, greater than or equal 360. This word means should not be less than 360. That's how it is. Now next we now must go and reduce. You can reduce that by 1,000, by 10,000. Reducing by 10,000, that will give us, reducing go through by 10,000, that will give us that. It will give us 40Y plus 99X greater than or equal to 36. Please, it is very acceptable to reduce. You have a right to reduce where necessary. So we have reduced. When you reduce this, you divide this by that, it will give you 4Y. Divide this 90,000 by 90, 10,000 will give you 9X. And then the 3 times by that will give you that. Okay, so now let's proceed. We move to the next part. Okay, next part will be about finding the coordinates and learning how to plot them. Alright, now with this, we shall get to know what is meant to be done in this area. Let's start with the table. So with the table, you must know the inequalities, the boundary line, and the coordinates. Okay, to start with, let's start with the first equation. Our first equation was Y greater than X. Now, when it comes to the boundary line, it means that this area here, all inequalities will be changed into an equal sign. And then let's see that. So you realize that it has been Y greater than or equal to X. So that will give us Y is equal to X. Now let's see how we can get the coordinates of that. Let's see how we can get coordinates of that. So coordinates of this equation, Y is equal to X. We come and say, when Y equals to 1, substitute in this. Okay, now substituting in that equation above, you realize that we are going to have, okay, when you substitute here, Y is equal to 1, you get that X. In fact, when you substitute, when Y is equal to 1, you realize that you shall get coordinate 1, 1 when you substitute in this. Let's now see what if when X is equal to 0. When you substitute in this equation, when you substitute X equals to, Y equals to 0, you get coordinate 0, 0. And when you substitute that Y is equal to 1, you get coordinate 1, 1. And let's see how we can put that. Now, why are we saying that is dotted? We all know that lines which are always in this format, all this format, please, all these lines here, we use a dotted line. A dotted line. Dotted. And then which are like this, or like this, is we use a solid line. Solid line means it should appear like that. A dotted line means it should appear like this. Like that. Okay, let's now proceed to go to another equation. Let's now go to another equation. and that's 16 for x plus 16y gives us 400. Change your boundary line, the inequality change sign goes to 400. So this is an equal sign. Have it here. This changes to an equal sign. So let's go about finding the coordinates. We already have up here that 64x plus 16y equals 400 when x is equal to 5. Please you can let any number so long as you avoid getting decimals. You can use x equal to 0, x equals to 1, x equals to 2, x equal to 3. It is a try and error up to when you get that value of y value which is a bit precise and clear. So we substitute x is equal to 5 in this equation. So we are going to substitute in this area here. And that will give us 64 times 5 plus 16y gives us that, and the whole process will give you y equals to 5, and that will put a coordinate starting with x value. X is 5 and even the value of y is also 5, like we are. Let's say we can get another coordinate. So when you also proceed and say when y is equal to 9, when you substitute, after putting y is equal to 9, when you substitute you get this. So when you substitute y is equal to 9 in the equation, you will get the value of x as 4, and then report a coordinate x is 4, and remember your y was 9, like that. Then next we can put it in the table. Now where you're saying solid, I've explained that whenever it's less than or equal, it will give you a solid. So y less than 6, let's go to that. And like we are, this will just give you a straight line. Y is equal to 6. That will be solid. Reason, it has less than or equal. Y greater than or equal to 6. Boundary line x is equal to 2. And now that will be a solid line because we have greater than or equal. So lastly, this equation 4y plus 9x greater than or equal to 36. Now use the same method as equation 1 and 2. Then you'll get this. You get 0940. You try that out, you'll see how the coordinates come about. Okay, now also we have this. I'll explain this. Okay, great. So you realize that in this area, why are we saying this? Is because that on that day we know that x greater than or equal to 0. Remember, every value is greater than 0 means it is a positive value. So it means that no negative number of students will be transported, as a negative means dead people, but all the students are alive. So it means that at least they will either take none or more than. They will either take none or some students. That's what this means. Same to this and that. Okay, so let us go about the plotting. So we can say can plot and shade regions. Okay, so in the plotting we shall now begin by drawing our axes. That is our y-axis and x-axis. Please demarcate on respective points. We go about demarcating on your graph paper. Please, you must be able to demarcate your graph paper. So when you go about the demarcating, put the numbers. Please, I've chosen a scale of 2, but you may choose to use any other scale so long as it is suitable for you. Okay, so great. So we have that. Now let's begin by plotting. So we are beginning with the line y is equal to x and its coordinates where we begin by line equals to y equals to x with the line we are beginning with. Now it means that we are going to plot these coordinates. So y is equal to x means that we're going to plot coordinate 0, 0 and 1, 1. Then we see which results we shall get. So when we go about the plotting, now coordinate 0, 0 has been plotted here. Coordinate 0, 0 has been plotted here. And coordinate 1, 1 has been plotted here. Now next you're going to draw a dotted line all through. Dotted line all through to pass through those 2 points. And y dotted is because we had y greater than x. I explained that. So let's see how that comes about. So that is our line y is equal to x. The naming will come on later. And then next we are going to plot a line 64x plus 16y gives us 400. 64x plus 16y gives us 400. Let's see how that comes about. Which coordinates do we have? So 64x plus 64x plus 16y gives us 400 is 4955. 4955. So we have plotted our coordinate 4955. So this is our coordinate 55 up to here. Let's see our coordinate 55. So this is our coordinate 55. The next, let's see how we can plot. Now our coordinate 49 is here, and now next we have to draw our line. It will be solid. Why? Is because we have, it will be a solid is because we have here our inequality symbol is less than or equal. So long as it has that equal, then it must be a solid. Then let's see how that comes about. Solid line, as simple as that. Then we move on to the next point. So we are moving to the line 4y plus 9x is equal to 36. 4y plus 9x is equal to 36. Let's see that line up this side. So 4y plus 9x is equal to 36. We have coordinate 0, 9 and 4, 0. 0, 9 and 4, 0. Then we have plotted coordinate 0, 9. Next is 4, 0. Let's plot it, and it is here 4, 0. The next we're going to put the line to be a solid. Why? Because it is having the greater than or equal. That's our line. Okay. The next we are going to draw the horizontal line, and that line is the line y is equal to 9. How does that come about? Let's go and see. Now when they say y is equal to 9, here you may not get coordinates because you have one variable. You only get coordinates when you have two variables, x and y. When you have two variables, x and y, then you can't get coordinates. Variables x and y, you get coordinates. But here you have only one variable, you don't need to get coordinates. Then what you do, you go, this means go on y-axis and look for where 6 is. Then you draw a line there, as shown here. You go on y-axis and look for where, okay, was it 8? Okay, we have it that. So this was meant to be shifted somewhere here. Okay. So we proceed to another point. So we are naming, that is y is equal to 9. Actually, it is equal to y is equal to 9. It is actually 9, not 6. So we are trying to name the lines. That has been 4y plus 9x equal to 36. So finally we have named all the lines as shown above. Please, and also what you must know is when dealing with linear programming, we don't put inequalities there, as inequalities cannot be exhausted. So we only put boundary lines. Don't always put inequalities here. Okay, so we proceed. So this is the line x is equal to 2, means that go on the x-axis and draw a line. Go on the x-axis, look for 2, and then you draw that line. Okay. Okay, now I proceed. So this will be, we have x is equal to 2. Please, this is meant to be changed to 9. Okay, there was an error on this, but should I get that sorted? So I proceed. So now we have okay, x is equal to 2, means that go on x-axis and look for a 2. Go on x-axis and look for a 2. X-axis here, 2 is here, so you draw a line up. It is a solid line. Why? Because there has been greater than or equal. Okay, with that, let's go about the shading. Okay, now the shading means that, okay, now for this line, y greater than y 4y plus 9x, its inequality was, the inequality on that line was, get a pen here. So the inequality in between that equation was greater than or equal. And once you have greater than or equal, and we have this kind of lines like this or like that, when you have greater than or equal, this means that we shade below. You have to note that. When you have greater than or equal, then you shade below. You do the opposite. Greater will mean above, so you shade below. We do the opposite of this sign. Greater means above, so we shade below, which is the opposite, or down. so the shading must be done down, and that's why this line here, on this line here, the shading is down as shown there. Then also let's go and see on another equation. So for this line, let's go and see how another shading is done. Okay, so you have y is equal to 9. The inequality between there was less than. So when you have a less than sign and you have a line of this kind, this is our left and this is our right. Now look at this. Where is the less than? The less than is this side. Okay, so the less than is that side. Therefore, what are we going to do? The less than is that side, so that's what I'm going to do. Now less than is there. We shall now do and shade this side. Okay, I show above. So we have shaded, actually this is our line x, starting with line, sorry, it has been x equals to 2, but originally where the equal sign is, we had the inequality greater than or equal. And when it comes to greater than or equal, what do we do when the line is of this format? Here we have this is right and this is left. So when it's greater than or equal, it means that where is the greater? Oh sorry, so this one is meant to be this. Let's remove this. So a meaning we have x equals to 2 as that. So now this the line we are shading is this one. Please, you have to be careful. The line we are shading is this one here. This vertical line is that we are shading, and we have shaded this side. Why have we shaded that side? Is because originally between this where the equal sign is, there was that greater than or equal. Now when you have greater than or equal, when they have this kind of a line, a vertical line, then this is our left and this is our right. Now look at this. If you are choosing sides, you realize that this side here is greater. This side is greater. So it means that it is agreeing with the inequality. So we do the opposite. The inequality is greater and even the side is greater. So we go for less. It is what we shade. It's unwanted. And that's why we have shaded all this side like that. Okay, let's now go to another line. We see how the shading is done. Okay, we have that line 64x plus 16y equals 400. So now I'll pick this part here equals 400. Originally, before putting the equal sign, they had this. They had a less than or equal. And now this means that when you have a line which is slanting like that, or slanting in this format, we have less. So this side here down is the less. This side down here is the less, and this side up is the greater. So this is the less. Now always what you do, we shade the opposite. So the less is down, so we shall shade it up, and that's why our shading is going like that. Okay, we got another one. So we have got the line y is equal to 9. Y is equal to 9. Then shall I press this? Y is equal to 9, and we have shaded it up. Why? Is because we have from this that y equals to 9. That was 96. Y is equal to 9, but then originally before bringing that, this was a less than, and if a vertical line like this up means greater than, and this part down means less than. Now which one is agreeing? The one agreeing with the sign is this one down. So we do the opposite of this sign. Since it's less than, so we shall shade it up, and that's why you see that here we have shaded it up and shown that. Okay, let's now proceed. The last part. Okay, so now our dotted line we have shaded down. Same explanation. So we have 4y plus 9x equals to 36. I'll pick out this. Now before bringing in the equal sign as equal to 36, we had greater than or equal. I explained this before. Whenever you have a line of that kind, a line of that kind or a line of this kind, like that, then that means that okay, my lines are not that straight, but we bear with that. So let's see, when you look at this line here, okay, this side up is greater than or equal, and this side down is less than or equal. Come on, this line which resembles the one you have, this side up is greater than or equal, this side down is less than or equal. So we always do the opposite. The sign which was replaced by the equal sign was greater than, so we do the opposite. So the greater than is up, so we now shall shade down. We do the opposite. So that's how the shading goes. Now next, we shall now go and see values in the feasible region. Let's now go and see values in the feasible region. Let's go and see values in the feasible region. Okay, proceeding. Okay, that's trying to cover up other parts of the graph. No worries with that. So points in the feasible region. Okay, now one would ask, what do you mean by feasible region? Feasible region means the space which is remaining in the middle. That space you're seeing in the middle, we call it a feasible region. And these coordinates are picked as, you see we have a 2 here. So a 2 we move up 2, we have 2, 4, and that coordinate is here, 2, 4. Then we also have still on that 2 we have 2. Okay, midway here we have 2, 5. Remember this is 4, 5, 6, 7. We use the scale of 2 centimeters. So we have also 2, 5. 2, 5 will work, and we have it there. We have 2, 6. 2, 6 will work, and we have it there. We also have 2, alright, 7. 2, 7 will work, and we have it there. 7 work, and we have it there. We also have 2, 8, and 2, 8 will work, we have it there. We also have 2, 9, 2, 9 will work, we also have it there. Now I'm done with the 2, so I'm going to 3. So you realize that 3, 3. Okay, 3. No, 3, 3 we don't have it. Now we don't pick coordinates on this dotted line, we don't. So we come in the space here with these highlighted lines. So we have 3. Okay, 3, 4 will work, and we have it there in the coordinates. 3, 5 will work, 3, 6, 3, 7, 3, 8, 3, 9. We have everything there. So you go to 4, 4, 5 will work, 4, 6, 4, 7, 4, 8 here, 4, actually 4, 7, and 4, 8. Now 4, 9 can't, okay, we can also have 4, okay, 4, 9 can't work because I don't know whether, is this on the line? You can put coordinates on the line, but I don't know. Okay, even 4, 9 would work for us there. Then you come to 5, so you have 5 cannot work. Why? When you track out this 5 here, it goes beyond the shaded part, and the coordinates you are picking only work for the shaded region. So this goes above. So and now those will be the possible. Okay, I can see 5, 5 there coming out by the 5, 5. Why? It is on this solid line here somewhere there, so we can also pick it. And those are the coordinates in the feasible region. The coordinates you're seeing above were picked in this area here. The coordinates you're seeing above were picked from this area here, and we call that a feasible region. Alright, of the ink. Moving the ink. Okay, let's now proceed. Next is, now somebody asked that a question like about how much his aim was to minimize the transport costs. Now with this, the transport costs, we know that for the bus it was 90,000 shillings for the bus and 40,000 shillings for the minibus. Let's see that. So shall I begin by coordinates? We use the back coordinates to minimize or to see. Okay, he wanted to minimize the transport allowances, so we want to see. So the coordinates are going to use now to minimize means we must get a smaller value, and to minimize means I'm going to pick the coordinates from the lower corner. We pick coordinates from the lower corner, and that will mean that we have coordinates 2, 5, 2, 6, 3, 4, and 3, 5, and 4, 5. Coordinates in the lower corner, we are picking coordinates from here like this. That's the lower corner. We divide this into equal portion. We divide that area into equal portion. Then the coordinates you're going to pick should be down in this area here like this. So you can check in the feasible region, the coordinates came from here, and there we have 2, 5, We have 2 6, 3 4, 3 5, and 4 5. We use them to test and see which one give us the smallest value. Now that smallest amount will tell us how much he needed for transportation, the minimum price. Now, so for example, the coordinate 2, 5, this implies that the meaning of this is for x, and this one here is for y. And now it means that since we said that x is for the bus and y is for the minibus, so it means that this coordinate means that 2 5 means that, okay, 2 trips for the minibus and 5 trips for the 2 trips for the bus and 5 trips for the minibus. That's the meaning of this. 2 trips for the 2 trips for the bus and 5 trips for the minibus. That's what it means. Now we go ahead and substitute in there and see. So remember, this one here is for the bus. Now this y here is for the minibus. I will use the word mini to put a difference. So that is the minibus, this one is the bus. So let's go and see substituting. So we are going to use the function. We know that for the bus they are using 90,000 shillings, and for the minibus they are using 40,000 shillings. So we are going to be multiplying. Since this one is the x value, we shall substitute. So realize that you said that 2 times the 90,000, and that is have there, then the 5 times the 40,000 y, that's the calculation I have here, and that will give you 380,000. So we do the same for the rest of the coordinates. Okay, great. So with that, you now look into there and look for, since they said the minimum, then you look for the smallest value. They said minimum, so you look for the smallest value. Now the smallest value among these ones here, I think it will be 380,000. So 380,000, that's the amount we need to minimize the transport cost. Okay, let's see the next part. So we want to say that he should make 2 trips and of the bus and 5 trips of the minibus in order to achieve his goal. So therefore, this one which has given us the minimum value, we now come and look at this. Remember, this is x value for the bus and the 5 is y value for the minibus. Therefore, we come and say he should make 2 trips of the bus, since x is for the bus, x coordinate, and 5 trips for the minibus, since 5 is in y, in order to achieve his goal. Now his goal was to use the minimum amount of money or to minimize the transport costs so that he can get more profits. Okay, finally part B, what do they say? Let's go and see what they said in part B. Okay, let's go and see what they said in part B. Part B, they're saying what is the maximum number of students that the teacher can transport. So the maximum number of students that teacher can transport. Now remember, he was minimizing the transport costs, and the maximum number of students he can transport is, let's go and see. Now here we shall use this inclusion here, which said that the bus can transport 64 students and the minibus can transport 16 students. So in this area, we are going to use this part only to know the number of students he can transport, since the school wants to transport 400, but we want to see by substitution what shall we get. Let's get there. Okay, let's see what next. So part B, remember the minimum cost as per his plan was to transport 2 students, 2 trips of the bus and 5 trips of the minibus. Therefore means that to know the number of students he has to transport, we now get it from the bus had to transport, I've explained this, the bus had to transport 64 students, and the minibus had to transport 16. And you come and substitute in, since you have 2 and 5, this one is for the x and this one here is for the y. So come and substitute the x here and substitute the y here, and that will give us 64 times 2, plus 16 times 5. Of course, 60 per student times 2 trips, 16 students times 5 trips. That will give us a total of 280 students. Simple as that. That marks the end of item 2, Wakisha 2024. We are now moving on to the next. Now number 3, Wakisha Uce Math 2024, item 3. This comes from section B, part 1. Here they bring 2 questions, and in that year item 3 came from statistics. Let's start off. Your guardian realizes during holidays that he may find it difficult to pay for sports uniform that cost Uganda shillings 38,000. Let's begin by noting that. Okay, by paying Uganda shillings 38,000. Uganda shillings 38,000. So therefore, at the beginning of the term 3, he decides to keep you busy during the last week of your holiday. So it keeps you busy during your last week of the holiday around the village buying cabbages at Uganda shillings 800 per cabbage. Okay. You later group them into 2 groups. Group A shall be cabbages whose weight is below the average weight, and group B will be cabbages whose weight is above the average weight. Next, later you will sell the cabbages, and profits from the sales will be used to cover cost of the sports uniform. Group A cabbages will be sold at Uganda shillings 1,350 each, while group B will be sold at Uganda shillings 16,050. Okay, before displaying the cabbages for sale, you measure and record their weights in grams as follows. So we have the weights listed as shown below, and of course, times when you see that kind of display, you already think about statistics as a topic or data display. Let's proceed. Okay, now going to the next, have okay, part A, using suitable statistical method, find the average weight of cabbages. Now this, the meaning of this word average means this word average in simple terms. The word average, shall underline the word average. This means a mean. Simply this means a mean. So they are like, find the mean weight of the cabbages, 10 squares. Part B, if you sell all cabbages at a planned selling price, will the guardian be able to meet his goal? Okay, let's go there. Okay, so there, when this is statistics, we must draw a table in order to come up with those values. So in our solution, we shall get to see that's our table. So let's begin with, okay, now remember when this person was recording the weights, okay, so we proceed. So we have that. Now we realize that this one here was meant to be changed to weight. Please, let's change this. It is a typing error. So now here in this place, in the place of this, we are meant to have weight. I'm meant to have weight. In the place of this, I meant to have weight. In the place of that, I meant to have weight. Sorry for that mistake. And of course, we shall now come and start putting the values. How shall we put these values? We shall always need to get the starting class. How do we get a starting class? Let's go back and see. So how we can get a starting class, please? We must always think about a class interval. And the class interval you can think of is one about, it can be a starting class of, alright, let's see this. So we can use a starting class of either 10, okay, use pen here. Okay, let's see. Okay, you can use a starting class. You can use a starting class of 10, rather class interval of 10. Allow me to use this c.I to mean class interval of 10. We can choose to use class interval of 5. You choose, but preferably here I'll use a class interval of 10. Why? The numbers I have are so big. Remember, the smaller the class interval, the more columns you'll have. Actually, the more rows you'll have down. What I'm meaning, you'll have more of the rows down when using class interval 5. But class interval of 10, try to save time. Then after knowing here we're going to use a class interval of 10, therefore it means that you now come and now look into the data and see which one is the biggest value in there, and we'll check through here. In fact, you look for the smallest value possible. We look for the smallest value, that's what to begin with, and realize that in here our smallest value is 60. Okay, I can see 63. Okay, I can see 61 here. That is our smallest value. Then what you come and do, but since this 60, to be proper, you make it flat and make it 60. Now after making it 60, you now come and add the class interval. Class interval here using specifically 10. Now you come and class interval plus class interval, that will take us to, okay, now since you're using class interval of 10, then you must know the range. You say 10 minus 1, that will give you a 9. So class interval minus 1 will give you a number there. For here I have a 9. If it is 5 to be 4, then class interval, when you subtract class interval minus 1 will give you a 9, then you add the 9 plus that starting value which you have gotten, that now be 69. And after having that 69, you shall now come and add the class interval downward. So to go down, you shall be adding class interval which has been our 10 for every area. That will give us 70 to 79. Now of course we do that again plus 10 up to when getting the biggest value. The biggest value in here, it is 100 and okay, let's check where is the biggest value here. If I cross check, I'm seeing 113 is here. Which one is the biggest of all? Okay, well, let's go with this. If there's any other, it's okay. Then the biggest value is 113, so it means that we must end at that. So let's go and see how that is done. Okay, now our weights, we go down. We have that. Okay, now next you come to the tally. Tally means you go, for example, a tally means for example, we go and say, we all know this, but we just need to clarify a little bit. Remove that, then get this. So a tally will mean that, say for example, we have 60. When you cross out this, you can come and cross out this, cross out that, then later you now go back and put a tally there. So we cross out that, then we can put a tally there. So after crossing out that, you now come and put a tally here, because it has been 63 and 63 is in that range. You put a tally. If you get another one, you again put a tally. You do the same. You cross. If you have a number between 70 and 79, you also come here and put a tally like that. So shall be doing that for every number. But of course, you must be very careful when tallying. Most times, you may put a wrong tally in a wrong area. So you have to be careful with that. Let's see how that comes about. So we have 4 tallies for that. Okay, next after that, having the tallies, we now go to the frequency. So 4 means we have 4 tallies there. Same to that, same to that, same to that, same to that. Then afterwards we get the summation of the frequency, and that is 50. We now move next. Remember, they want us to get the mean. They want us to get the mean, and the mean will mean that From the formula of mean, we all know that mean equals to, we have it as a summation. Mean equals to a summation of f of x over summation of f. So we shall use. So therefore we have f, put a tick, can use another ink. So you have f, put a tick. Do you have x? Do you have summation of f? Yes, put a tick. Then it's missing. We are missing x. So do you have x? No. So therefore let's can get x. So x is a mid value, and the mid value means you get this, you add it to this, then the answer you divide it by 2, and that will give us a 64.5 when you use a calculator. Then after getting that, you can keep on adding class interval down. Class interval has been 10, so you can just say plus 10 downwards. That is a simple technique. When you add plus 10 here, you get that. Plus 10 again, you get that. Plus 10 again, you get that. Plus 10, you get that. And lastly, we have that. Now next, you realize that we have x there, but what is missing? Because they want us to get the average from part A, so we are missing now a combination of these two people, f of x. So and f of x is going to multiply this times this. That will give you f of x. Let's see how that comes about. So f of x multiplying 4 times 6.64.5 shall get that. Okay, great. So now this means that when you multiply a 4 times 64.5, you get that. Multiply a 4 times 74.5, you get that. 7 times 84.5, you get that. 13 times 94.5, you get that. This times that, you get that. This to that, you get that. Then later, when you sum up everything here, the answer you get is this. Okay, let's now proceed. Now since we want to get the mean, the data we have is already enough to get the mean. However, though, since we don't want a frequency distribution table, we shall not forget this, the class boundary. This is good as shown below. Now this comes by, you come from this first number here, we subtract 0.5, and that gave us a 59.5. And now this next number here, we add a 0.5. Add a 0.5. When you add a 0.5, this gave us that. After having those two numbers to go down, you can just keep on adding the class interval, which has been our 10. So plus 10 on every side downwards. That can easily give you the class boundary. Let's see that. Okay, simple. Then let's go to lastly, we also get the cumulative frequency, and this means we just keep on adding the frequency. Just keep on adding the frequency. Okay, good. We add. Okay, now realize that when you get 4, when you to add the frequencies, we start with the first value in the frequency. We start with the first value in the frequency, and the first value in the frequency is this 4. Then what you do, you get that 4, this 4 plus 4, that will give you 8. This 8 plus 7, that will give you 15. The 15 plus 13, that will give you 20. That plus 13 will give you 28. 28 plus 18, that will give you 46. 46 plus 4, that will give you a 50. As simple as that. Okay, let's now proceed. Now let's go and see I can calculate the mean. So mean is equal to summation of f of x over summation of f, and then that will mean that we substitute. Our f of x was 4715. When you divide, you'll have that as the answer. Please remember it is in grams. I shall say, okay, so that since mean is 94, weighing below the average, okay, that will come in the graphical part. Please, we shall explain this when you are done with the graphical part. The conclusion, we proceed. Okay, now next we must go and see from the graph is where we shall determine what the mean is. Remember, mean is a weight, so we draw our graph and specifically we want to know. Let's go and see this part. Let's go and see specifically what are they asking part B. If you sell the cabbages at a planned selling price, will the guardian be able to meet his goal? Now, the goal, anything which does with an expectation to know what's going to happen next in the future, anything which talks about the number, because here what you are looking at is the number of cabbage. Anything which specifies the number, please, that part you always draw an or give. So please, I'm saying anything which does with the predicting, to predict the future, we always use curves. So here we shall use a cumulative frequency curve to predict whether the goal will be true or not. Then anything which talks about display, then that is a histogram. So it means that you shall need to draw a graph in order to be able to know whether he will be able to meet his goal. That is our axis, number of cabbages, or you can call it frequency. Then the horizontal axis, which we are calling the weights. Please, here we are labeling the axis. We are labeling the axis. Here we are labeling the axis. And even here, okay, even here we are labeling the axis, please. So for horizontal axis is weight, which some box weight has class boundary. Then your number of cabbages is the frequency. The number of cabbages, we call it the frequency. And then with that, we start numbering, demarcating our graph. So we go about numbering. That's the scale I've chosen to use because the numbers I have are a bit big, like that. Now, having done that, we now go about the plotting. Let that the first coordinate has been successfully plotted, and that goes with, first coordinate goes with this. First coordinate goes with this. This means that when you're plotting, we shall take this coordinates here. Refer these coordinates here. It means that when you're plotting, a plotting starts from here. Means that you shall plot this and this. That's how the plotting of the gift goes, whereby 64 goes with 4, 79 goes with 8, 89 goes with 15, 99 goes with 28, 105.5, 109.5 goes with that, and that goes with that. Let's go and see how that is done. Okay, the plotting is done as shown above. After plotting, we now draw a smooth curve to pass through. So we shall now come and draw a smooth curve which pass through those points. And our smooth curve will be from somewhere up the side, passing through all the points. That's how a smooth curve should appear. Okay. Now let's see how that will come about. Right. As simple as that. So that's our smooth curve. Please, you must be accurate in your graph when plotting. Just think about the scale you're going to use. Okay, having done that, now let's go and see. Remember, they said they want us to know. They want us to know this. Let's go there to check. So part A in the question says using a statistical table, part A has been solved, we have gotten the mean. Now you're in part B, if you sell the cabbages at the planned selling price, will the guardian be able to meet his goal? Now what is his goal? Let's go and see there in the question. What is his goal? Let's go there and see in the question. Okay, let's go there and see in the question. What is his goal? Alright, so I need to go back. So now they're saying that you later group them. Okay, buying. Okay, group A shall have cabbages. Okay, now they want to know later you will sell the cabbages and profits from the sales will be used to cover the cost of the sports uniform. So it means that you're going to buy the cabbages and sell them. So to meet his goal, you must know how much did you buy the cabbages and how much do you sell them. Then later get all the profit made, and now the profit can it come out this cost of buying a uniform. We are seeing this. They have here the goal is making Uganda shillings 38,000. We want to see will that goal come true, because we know that he decides to keep you busy during the last week of your holiday, moving around the village buying cabbages. So the buying price for cabbage is 800 shillings per cabbage. Then you will later group them into two groups. Group A shall be with cabbages whose weight is below the average, and the group B will be the cabbages whose weight is above the average weight. Okay, later you will sell the cabbages and profits from the will be used to cover the cost of the sports uniform. Now sports uniform is meant to be 38. Group A cabbage, now we not know, Group A cabbages are sold at 13,000, rather 1,350. Then Group B are sold at 1,650. Please take note of that. Let's go there. So here it means that we are selling two groups, either Group A or Group B. Those are the ones we are selling. But now the question remains, how many members are in Group A and how many members are in Group B? We need to get that. How many members are in Group A and how many members are in Group B? Now it means that we're going to use a graph. They said that Group A, what is that? Group A shall be cabbages whose weight is below. So Group A is weight below average and Group B is weight above average. Let's can see that. Group A weight below. So you must know that with Group A, please I'll explain it here. With Group A, please, weight is below average. So below, weight is below average. Elaborate like that. Then Group B shall say weight is above. Shall say weight is above average. So weight is above. Now you must know, and of course the cost for Group A, please I'll summarize this at once, maybe you will refer. The cost for Group A, the cost for Group A is 1,650. In fact, Group B, cost of each cabbage is 1,650. That's the cost of Group A. Then the cost for Group B is Group A, the cost is 1,350. Please take note. So now what I'm missing, we are missing the number only, and the number comes from where? Below the average gives us A, above the average gives us B. But remember our average was 94.3. Our average, the mean, we are from getting the mean, our mean was 94.3. When you rewind the video, you see that. So now we need to locate this 94.3 on this axis. Then we draw that line. So let's see. And 94.3 will be located here, around here. So this 94.3 is around here. So we must now move up. Then you see which number does it give us. Remember, this axis gives us the number of cabbages. If you can see that. Okay, so it goes to 20 cabbages. So the average gives us that. So it means that from here onwards, those are the cabbages above the average weight. From here downwards, those are the cabbages below the average weight. In fact, let me pass some of this. Let me remove this. Okay, good. So now let's proceed. So it means that from this 20 and above, these ones here are above the average, and from 20 and below, that is now below the average. So it means that this is our A and this is our B. And now our A will be what? That will give us, our A will be, our A, now we look at this from 0 to there. So our A will give us 20 cabbages, and our B will give us, what was the remainder? If the whole total was 50. Remember, the graph is ending here. Please be careful. The graph is ending here, by the way. The graph is ending here. So that the total for B is 30. Why 30? Is because when you add 30 plus 20 gives you 50, which has been the total number of students there. You can check in the total frequency. So now from there we shall now go and see, we multiply per every price. So it means that is 1650 times 20. Rather, sorry, it is times, the reverse is true. So we shall remove this. So then it means we're going to have this. That we're going to say that this times this, and the 20 times this amount there. That will be our answer. Let's go and see the real work. So remove this, remove that. Okay, so now let's proceed trying to erase this out to clear our area. Now let's proceed. Okay, now let's see how can that be done, the calculations. Okay, now you realize that those are 20 cabbages in that area, 20 cabbages and below. So group A cabbages sale is 20 times 1350, because I explained this. Explain this 20 is here, then the cost per group A cabbages is 1300, like that. We do the same for group B. The cost was 30 times 1650. I've explained that. That gives you 49,500. Now let's see the total sales will be 27,000 for group A plus 49,500 for group B. So the total cost will be 76,500. That was the buying price. And the profit will be called selling price minus buying price. And now that will mean, shall say, profit is equal to selling price has been 76,500 minus 40,000, which is sold that. And that will give you 36,500. 36,500. Okay, let us proceed. Okay, now one would ask where this is coming from. One would ask where this is coming from. The 40,000 for buying. Remember this, I'll explain it from here. Remember they said that they bought 50 cabbages in total, 50 cabbages, because you have got to know 50 cabbages, okay, times how much is each cabbage. Each cabbage is 800 shillings, and now that one gives you the 40,000, which is now the buying price. But now they were selling group A cabbages at this, below the average, and group B cabbages at this. I explained how the 30 comes about. You can rewind the video, and then with that we can proceed. So now the D kappa is goal. Remember, we have 36,000. That is the profit is getting after everything. He's getting 36,000. But now let's go and see the D kappa his goal. Let's go and see. Okay, now in the question it says that okay, difficult to pay for sports uniform, which is 38,000. So did he get the 38,000? Let's go and see. 38,000. No, he didn't get the 38. Finally he got 36. Therefore he didn't cover his goal. Then we can summarize that. So we say since profits are less than the 38,000, the goal was not achieved, by the way. Sorry for them. So the goal was not achieved, and that marks the end of item 3, Wakisha 2024. We shall now again proceed with the rest of the numbers. Thank you.